So unless you've been living under a rock, you will have known that just recently, Zlatan Ibrahimovic just retired from football, finishing his career at AC Milan. So I thought, why not do like a tribute video, looking at the career of one of the most lethal strikers of our time, who went from humble beginnings to dominating European leagues, in a story that's nothing short of remarkable. Zlatan is known for his deadly finishing, his eye for goal, as well as his strength and ability in the air, and his agility despite his large stature, as well as his ego on and off the pitch. So let's take a look at this incredible career of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan was born in Malmö, Sweden, and grew up in a notoriously rough neighbourhood known as Rosengård, as well as having a tough upbringing as well. As at just 9 years old, Zlatan was sent to live with his father after social services intervened as they were concerned about his mother, who was often caught stealing goods. And after living with his father, who was a known alcoholic, food was often scarce for Zlatan, so he began shoplifting and stealing bikes from an early age, as well as getting into various trouble in and around the neighbourhood. Zlatan played football from a very early age, and whilst playing for his local teams, Zlatan said that he used his background as motivation, which separated him from the rest of his teammates at his local club. As Zlatan said that he often felt inferior to the other middle class kids in Sweden, as he had no money and always wore the wrong clothes, and felt like an outsider because of his name. Despite all this though, his warrior-like mentality and his ability on the ball paid off after he signed for Malmö when he was just 17 years old, despite interest from various other clubs like Arsenal and Ajax. Whilst at Malmö, Zlatan impressed quickly with his footballing ability that we know him for today, despite being criticised often by teammates and managers for being selfish and having too much of an ego. However, this wasn't even a problem for young Zlatan, and in 2001, after many top performances, Zlatan became the most expensive player sold by Malmö in their history, after he signed for Dutch side Ajax for a fee of 8.7 million, and Ajax is really where Zlatan began to make a name for himself as one of Europe's most exciting youngsters. As after he was eased into the Ajax squad, Zlatan began to show his quality that we all know of today, as Zlatan stood out from most strikers. Even though he was tall, strong, good in the air, and did like the odd fight, he displayed sublime technical ability which was rare for someone his size, as well as being a real danger to goal, making him a force to be reckoned with for many opponents. Whilst at Ajax, Zlatan had many impressive performances in the league and the Champions League, and he won 2 Eredivisie titles, getting 39 goals in 3 seasons, which then led him to make another upwards move to Italian giants Juventus in 2004 for a fee of 16 million. And at this point you might be thinking, what if all these big moves and all these big step-ups put pressure on him? But nah, Zlatan continued to perform well, and he won the Serie A in his first season, getting to the quarters of the Champions League as well, and getting 31 goals and assists in his first season and getting 19 goals and assists in his second season. However, his time at Juve was cut short as Juventus were relegated to Serie B after the Calciopoli scandal in 2006. Let me know if you guys want to see a video on that, which led to many of Juve's top players leaving, understandably, and Zlatan was one of them, which led him to move to Inter Milan for 24 million. And whilst at Inter, this is where Zlatan really began to take off, as he went crazy at Inter, winning them 3 Serie A titles in a row, as well as 2 Supercoppa Italiana, playing a vital role in all of them, including being Inter's top scorer in his first season, as well as Serie A's top scorer in the 08-09 season, and winning Serie A Footballer of the Year and Serie A Foreign Footballer of the Year in the 07-08 and 08-09 season. Not only that, he also won the Goal of the Year with his back heel finish against Bologna. By that point, Ibra's role at Inter came to an end, and he signed for arguably the best team in football history, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, after he was involved in a swap deal between him and Samuel Eto'o with an agreed 59 million fee. Like all the other clubs he was at before, Barca was no problem for Ibra, despite it being one of the best teams of all time, and he even said that he knew Barca would win before they even played a game, as there was so much quality around him. But Ibra settled in quickly and scored in his first 5 games, making him the only ever player to score in his first 5 league matches, as well as getting his first ever Champions League goal against Rubin Kazan in the group stage. However, he suffered a thigh injury, ending his season with 34 goals in 45 games. Pretty impressive, as well as winning the La Liga and the Club World Cup with the Catalan club. So at this point, Ibra has the world in his hands, playing for the best team in history, scoring goals and entertaining fans worldwide with his ability, physical prowess and his goal scoring. However, his relationship with Guardiola wasn't great, to say the least. After Barca's semi-final defeat to Inter in the Champions League, Ibra lost his cool, told Pep Guardiola, "You haven't got any balls," and said he was a spineless coward. And after a change in Barcelona's tactics, switching from a 4-3-3 to a 4-5-1, Ibra said that he no longer had the freedom he once had on the pitch. And after a rocky relationship with Guardiola, Ibra moved to AC Milan. At AC Milan, Zlatan continued to show his goal scoring ability, after getting 18 goals in 21 matches, leading him to being compared to the likes of AC Milan legend Van Basten, and ending the season with 22 goals in 42 games, as well as winning the Serie A that season. And in his second season back in Milan, he won the Supercoppa Italiana, where he scored in a 2-1 win over rivals Inter Milan, and continued to fire in goals throughout the season, as well as having many world-class notable performances, including his goal and 2 assists against Arsenal in the Champions League, and his first half hat-trick against Palermo, making him the Serie A's top goal scorer for the second time in his his entire career, getting 35 goals in 44 games, which is just incredible. So you might be thinking, surely Zlatan's at his peak now. I mean, he's scoring goals for fun, he's dominating Europe, but no, the best was yet to come, as despite him proving himself as one of the world's best strikers, Zlatan still wanted more, and he was bound to make another move, as in July 2012, Zlatan signed to PSG, which is arguably the prime of his career in my opinion. I mean, that's where I just remember him the most, and Ibra kicked off quickly at Paris to say the least, as he did with all his other clubs, getting a brace in his debut in a 2-2 draw against Lorient and became the first player to score for 6 clubs in the Champions League. Zlatan also showed that it wasn't just the goals that made him the player he is, as he was the top assister in the Champions League in the 2012 to 2013 season. At the top of his first season in Paris, he ended the year as Ligue 1's top scorer with 30 goals and was named Ligue 1's Player of the Year, as well as winning PSG their first title in 19 years, already cementing Zlatan's legacy at PSG. And Ibra showed no sign of slowing down anytime soon, as in his second season he got 41 goals in 46 games, including Ligue 1's goal of the season, as well as winning a consecutive league title for the Parisians, and being the top scorer and player of the season again. And you know what, I could probably make just an entire video about his time at PSG, as in his third season he won the domestic France quadruple, and then became PSG's all-time top goal scorer in the 15-16 season, as well as winning the Ligue 1 title again, while striking fear into every opponent he faced, because at this point Zlatan wasn't even trying, after he scored a 9-minute hat-trick in a 9-0 win over Troyes, and got 50 goals in 51 appearances that season, which is just insane. So let me put all that into context. The man went to PSG, won the league 4 times in a row, became PSG's all-time leading goal scorer at the time, which is now Cavani's title, and top goal scorer in 3 seasons. Absolute beast. So it was only right that PSG fans gave Zlatan a standing ovation after he was substituted in the Coupe de France final, and after cementing his place as one of PSG's greatest ever players. Zlatan quoted on social media, "I came like a king, left like a legend." And after his incredible time at PSG, it was time for the Swede to take on a new challenge in Europe, this time in the Premier League, where he signed for Manchester United as a free agent when he was handed the number 9 jersey. And although he was around 35 at this point, playing in arguably the world's best league, Zlatan showed again that nothing gets in his way, showed no signs of slowing down, as he scored in his debut in a 2-1 win over Leicester, which saw United win the Community Shield, and scored a world hit in his Premier League debut in a 3-1 win over Bournemouth. Zlatan played a vital part in winning United's 5th League Cup after he scored a free kick and a header in the final against Southampton. And despite being injured at the time, Zlatan also won his first European trophy with Mourinho's United after they won the Europa League against Ajax, ending his season with 28 goals in 46 games. And in his second season, Zlatan again did okay when United finished 2nd in the Premier League, just behind rivals Manchester City. However, after all those insane years at Europe playing at the top level for some of the biggest clubs of all time, it was time for a change for Zlatan after his contract to Man United was terminated by mutual consent, which saw him make his move to America, specifically to LA Galaxy. And when he arrived, he quoted, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." Typical Zlatan. And in his debut, he scored twice, including a 45-yard screamer in a 4-3 win over Los Angeles, as well as getting a hat-trick against Orlando City, getting 31 goals in 31 games. And in his second season in MLS, Zlatan was named team captain and made history by scoring the most goals in Swedish history, and broke the record for the most goals scored in a season for an LA Galaxy player, and even had some really notable performances, particularly in his win over Los Angeles FC. And after his time in America, Zlatan announced his departure on Twitter by saying, "You wanted Zlatan. I gave you Zlatan. You are welcome. The story continues. Now go back to watching baseball." And then Zlatan made his final move after arriving back to AC Milan, where he ultimately looked like he was slowing down after such an incredible career at the top. In his first season he got 11 goals in 20 games, which to be honest is pretty good, you can't knock that, for someone who was around 39 or 40 at the time, still playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. And in his second season, Zlatan kept doing what he does best, putting the ball in the net, getting 17 goals in 27 games in his second season. However, despite Zlatan still knowing how to score goals, as well as displaying his technical ability, he began to struggle with his injuries, and by the 21-22 season, Zlatan only managed 8 goals and 3 assists in 27 games. However, he was still doing his thing and helped Milan win their first Serie A title in 11 years, where he revealed that he played through an anterior cruciate ligament injury for 6 months straight, which is just another example of his warrior-like mentality that's assisted him all throughout his career and led him to play for such a consistently long time. Which then brings us to this season, where Zlatan has only played 4 games, but he still broke another record by becoming the oldest goal scorer in Serie A history at the age of 41. And on the 4th of June this year, Ibrahimovic announced his stellar career would be coming to an end in an emotional farewell in Milan's last game of the season, where he even mocked Verona fans after they started booing him by saying, "This is the biggest moment in your year, seeing me. You just have to respect it." And to say Ibrahimovic has had an outstanding career is an understatement to say the least, as he has played all over Europe, dominating whichever league he steps in, scoring goals for fun, as well as having one of the most insane goal catalogues ever. And bear in mind, I haven't even mentioned his international career for Sweden, where he just did what he did best, score a goal, including his 45-yard bicycle kick against England, which won the Puskas Award in 2013. I was never going to leave that out of the video, don't worry. And he's definitely Sweden's best ever player. And yes, I know people will say, oh, he hasn't won a Champions League, he hasn't won anything with Sweden, but don't take anything away from his ability. The amount of goals he's scored for pretty much every league in Europe is ridiculous, and he's won so many individual awards. I mean, if you look it up, you'll be scrolling for ages. And loads of people love to talk about his ego and how he talks too much and all of that stuff, but to me, I absolutely love it, as he has had to fight for every opportunity he has got, coming from a really hard background, and every time he talks as well, he always backs it up on the pitch. So yeah, to me, Zlatan is certainly a legend of the game. Where does he rank amongst the greats for you guys? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you guys have enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel, as you guys have been absolutely killing it with the support recently. And once again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Discussing Ball.